Yamunakirha vanacharya Jaya-Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya-Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Grivanadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Grivanadhari Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunakirha vanacharya Yamunakirha vanacharya Jaya-Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya-Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramhangsa Parvadakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Srimad His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari all glories to the sound devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Om Agana Tumanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksurum Vilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanshena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Deity in the Evening. Text number 18. Sarvāśramān upādāya svāśrameṇa kalatravān vyasanārṇavam atyeti jala-yānair yathārṇavam sarvāśramān upādāya svāśrameṇa kalatra-vān vyasanārṇavam atyeti jala-yānair yathārṇavam
sarvāśramān upādāya
svāśrameṇa kalatra-vān atyeti jala-yānair yathārṇavam
sarvāśramān upādāya
upādāya
āśrameṇa
kalatravān
kalatravān atyeti
atyeti
yathārṇavam
ladies, upādāya sarva, all, āśramān, social orders, upādāya, completing, own, āśrameṇa, by the social orders, kalatra-vān, a person living with a wife, vyasana-arṇavam, the dangerous ocean of material existence, atyeti, one can cross over, jala-yānair, with seagoing vessels, yathā, as, āśramān, the ocean. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As one can cross over the ocean with sea-going vessels, one can cross the dangerous situation of the material ocean by living with a wife. Please repeat. As one can cross over the ocean with sea-going vessels, one can cross the dangerous situation of the material ocean by living with a wife. Purport. There are 4 social orders for cooperation in the endeavor for liberation from material existence. The orders of brahmacarya, or pious student life, household life with a wife, retired life, and renounced life all depend for successful advancement on the householder who lives with a wife. This cooperation is essential for the proper functioning of the institution of the 4 social orders and the 4 social orders of life, of the 4 social orders and the 4 spiritual orders of life. This Vedic vānaprasthas system is generally known as the caste system. The man who lives with a wife has a great responsibility in maintaining the members of the other social orders. The brahmacārīs, vānaprasthas, and sannyasis. Except for the grihastas or the householders, everyone is supposed to engage in the spiritual advancement of life, and therefore the brahmachari, the vanaprastha, and the sannyasi have very little time to earn a livelihood. They therefore collect alms from the grihastas, and thus they secure the bare necessities of life and cultivate spiritual understanding. By helping the other 3 sections of society cultivate spiritual values, the householder also makes advancement in spiritual life. Ultimately, every member of the society automatically becomes spiritually advanced and easily crosses the ocean of nations. So the text again, the translation. As one can cross over the ocean with seagoing vessels, one can cross a dangerous situation in the material ocean by living with a wife. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatya De Satarne. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 16th chapter, Abhayam sattva samshudira jnana yoga vivyastiti dhanam dhammasya jagnascha swadeya tapa arjavam. It goes on, himsa sattva krodas. But here Krishna is talking about the varna and ashram system. And it begins with abhayam. Abhaya means fearlessness. Abhayam sattva samshudir jnana yoga vyasanārṇavam. So this is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Abhayam is only obtained when we realize that we're eternal servants of Krishna. Sit on there. When we realize we're eternal servants of Krishna, then we become fearless. Otherwise, if we're not aware of the fact that we're servants of Krishna, eternal servants of Krishna, then we're automatically eternal servants of this body, which is called ahamkara. I am the car that we're riding around in. And abhayam sattva samshudira. Sattva samshudira means purification, so that when one becomes purified, then one becomes full of bliss. And jnana yoga vyavastiti, that is transcendental knowledge. So sat, eternity, chit, knowledge, and ananda. These are the qualities that the sannyasis are supposed to be exhibiting because of their concentrating on Krishna. Payas parshe visagdatma vindyat yatminiyat sukham siyoga brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto dagachati barsheva seviyatma vishudatma vigat Vayavasheva suda atma. That such a person is not attracted to material sense objects or external things, but is always entranced, enjoying the pleasure from within. In this way, the self-realized soul enjoys unlimited happiness because he concentrates on the Supreme. So we go back a couple of verses there. This is achieved by Buddhaya, by using our intelligence, by using, when one's intelligence, one's mind, tad buddhayas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad parayanaha, gacchanyapana avritim jnanani duta kalmashaha. When one's intelligence, one's mind, one's faith, one's refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of all misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of self-realization. In other words, if we want to realize Krishna, if we want Krishna to arise within our heart, because we cannot force Krishna to appear, but Krishna will arise within our heart if we follow his instructions. It doesn't matter, as it says here, whether we're a grihasta or vānaprasthas or a brahmacarya or a sannyasi. The important thing, tad buddhayas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad parayanaha, gacchanyapana avritim jnanani duta kalmashaha. That we have to use our intelligence in Krishna's service. The brahmacārya has to use his intelligence by svādāya, trying to discover that we're eternal. Trying to do things that will bring us to the spiritual platform. And in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the brahmacari guru kule vasandanta gurorhitam dasavan achavan dasavan nicho surida saurida. That the brahmacari has to live in a spiritual atmosphere. He can't live in his own house and try to have material comforts. Then he's not a brahmacari, he's a brahmastra. Brahmastra means one who's a brahmacari who's waiting to explode at any moment. Therefore, one has to live in a spiritual atmosphere and an ashram. Just like the brahmacari has to live in an ashram, so he's called brahmacari ashram. And then there's also grihastra ashram. So the grihastas have to live also in a sacred atmosphere by dhanam, dhammas, and yajna, by performing in their house yajna, and by performing in their house dhanam, charity, and by doing in their house dhammas, sense and mind control. Then it becomes an ashram. An ashram is meant so that one can fix and focus one's mind upon Krishna. That's called buddhayas. So it is the job, it's the service of the sannyasis to go door to door and tell the householders. As Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur went door to door, they knock on their door, and when the householder opened the door, then they asked, first thing they'd ask was, do you live here? And the householder generally would say yes, so you got something positive. And then Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur would say that Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna Shika. Chant Krishna's name, worship Krishna, and follow his instructions. So Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, they perfectly followed what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita to help the householders. And that's the duty of the sannyasis and those who are preaching, to help the householders. And how to help them? To tell them, asakta anabhishvanga putra dara grihadishu. This is the 13th chapter, 8 to 12, where Krishna tells us what we have to do to obtain transcendental knowledge. And there he says the detachment from wife, home, children, and the rest. So Srila Prabhupada says, it is not that the householder should not have affection for his children and for his wife or for their husband. Affection is what we're trying to cultivate. Love is bhakti. But it has to be purified in the material world. So one should not give up house, home, wife, children, and the rest, but one has to engage them in Krishna's service. And how to do that? Prabhupada says one should sit down morning and evening and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and worship the deities. That's perfection. Nothing elaborate, nothing complicated, nothing esoteric. And that way, household life will become perfect. It is not that we can expect complete happiness in household life. Sometimes the brahmacārīs, they get married thinking, finally I got a slave. For so long I did my laundry. I had to accept temple prasadam. I had to do so many different things. And now I have a slave who could do it all for me. Now I've gotten the goddess of fortune to serve me, and at night massage my lotus feet. And lo and behold, the wife is thinking, finally I've gotten two-handed Narayan who can provide the material and spiritual worlds to me, and a little bit more beyond that. So this is not what household life is meant for. This is not what brahmacārya life is meant for. Brahmacārya life is meant to learn a service attitude. And that service attitude is cultivated in brahmacārya life as an opportunity to live at the ashram and, basically speaking, chant Hare Krishna, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, serve the deities, serve the devotees, and try to make the atmosphere spiritual. The exact same thing the householders is supposed to be doing. There's really not much of a difference, except that householders are supposed to work, and therefore it is not so easy for the householders sometimes to realize that they should also, in the morning, get up, chant Hare Krishna, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worship the deities, serve the devotees, and make the atmosphere spiritual. And the vānaprasthas, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to get up in the morning. They're supposed to chant Hare Krishna. They're supposed to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. They're supposed to worship the deities. They're supposed to make the atmosphere spiritual and serve the devotees. This is what Dhruva Maharaj did in the forest. And what are the sannyasis supposed to do? Chant Hare Krishna, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worship the deities, serve the devotees, and make the atmosphere spiritual. It's the same thing. The difference is, this is called intelligence. This is how we develop intelligence. Now, there's a system, one has to become a good brahmachari in order, generally speaking, to become a good householder. Because unless the brahmachari develops a taste for what? Chanting Hare Krishna, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshiping the deities, serving the devotees, and trying to make the atmosphere spiritual, then one will think that now I've come to the grihastha ashram, and now I have a chance to enjoy the material world for 25 years, and then because I've taken initiation, I've thrown some grains into the fire. No matter what I do, the Vaikuntha airplane will come at my time of my leaving this body and take me back to the spiritual world. And maybe my wife will come with me too. No, it's supposed to be an ashram. It's not supposed to be a place that now I'm leaving the side, everything I learned in brahmacārya life, just forget about it. That was when I was younger. Now I'm so much older and wiser. Now I've learned how to enjoy in the material world, and now I've taken a break from spiritual life. Yes, you've taken a break from spiritual life, and you'll be broken too, in little pieces. So this is modern society. They've lost the clue. And indeed, unfortunately, we're also living in modern society, and it's easy for us to lose the clue too. We hear about varṇāśrama, and we think, oh, how boring. It's not boring. It's the only reality. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedanti, well, he doesn't say that in Bhagavad Gita. In Srimad Bhagavatam it says, Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattva gyāsyam avayam prameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdite. This is reality. Everything else is just illusion. Srila Prabhupada, he sometimes talked to people, different people, when he had conversations, interviews. He talked to a race car driver about cars. He talked to politicians about politics. But his aim was, he wasn't interested in these things, per se. He was simply interested in giving people knowledge of Brahman, that we're all eternal, and to realize that we have to take shelter of Paramatma within our heart, who's appeared within our heart and is appearing outside as Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, so we can get to the goal. The goal is to learn to love Krishna, to develop a desire to serve Krishna and love him. That's the only goal of life. Everything else is tuchava, completely insignificant. So Prabhupada realized that. Therefore he's an acharya. He had no other business than to give people this knowledge somehow or another. Therefore, all the different orders of life are there, and grihastha life is the basic opportunity to either go back to Godhead or to go to some species of life. As I said before, Srila Prabhupada was passing through Los Angeles on his way to back from his doctor's appointment, and he saw a movie sign. He didn't go into the movie, by the way. He just saw the sign. The title of the movie was, "Is There Sex After Death?" And Prabhupada gave, when he came back to the temple, he gave his lecture that morning, and he told the devotees, when you go out for book distribution, for Harinam, if you meet people, you should tell them, don't worry, because there is sex after death. He said, if people hear that there's sex after death, they won't worry about death anymore. So Prabhupada said, you should tell them there's sex after death and 8,400,000 species of life. So what has happened in modern society? The varnāśrama system is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And in terms of the varnāśrama system, the kshatriyas give dharma. They make sure dharma is going on in society. The brahmins, they give moksha. They give direct to society towards moksha. And under the guidance of the brahmins and the kshatriyas, the vaishyas protect the cows. so that we can actually get real sense gratification. Real food, prasadam, clean air, pure water, healthy consciousness, healthy relationships. This is what the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas, they guide society. And that's what our society is meant. As Prabhupada said, our society will become successful by organization and intelligence. So that organization is the managers, the Kshatriyas, and the intelligence is the Brahmanas. That society should be directed towards spiritual life. And how to do that? Chant Hare Krishna morning and evening, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, worship the deities, make the atmosphere spiritual, and serve the devotees. So how to make the atmosphere spiritual? Also, we have to tell people this current economic system that they have is an absolute failure. It is poison. When we talk about protecting the cows and the bull, we're also talking about protecting the women, the old people, those who are sick. Without protecting the cow and bull, society will simply become hell. Or as Prabhupada, when he was in London, they asked Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji, can you tell us what hell is like? And Srila Prabhupada said, London is hell. And as I said before, they said, Prabhupada, Swamiji, but in India, there are so many people sick and dying. So Prabhupada said, you're right. I've been in India, and there's so many people sick and dying. But I've been in London for some time, and I've noticed you have many hospitals here where people are sick. And sometimes people even here in London, they die. So in India, the death rate is 100%. And I've noticed in London, the death rate is also 100%. So what's the difference? But what's the problem? The problem is they thought, actually it all started after Satya Yuga, when people started to think, what would an extra globulin taste like? It's shocking, isn't it? That's how Treta Yuga started. Just a little desire for more sense gratification, a little less meditation on Krishna, and a little bit more sense gratification. And therefore, in Treta Yuga, sacrifice had to be there, so the extra means of sense gratification were offered into the fire of sacrifice on behalf of Vishnu, so that then one can actually concentrate the mind upon Krishna. But because of atyahara, priyasas cha, when there's desire for sense gratification, atyahara, especially eating too much, then priyasas has to be there. So what was this atyahara? Why should we work so hard to get our food? Why not kill the bull, kill the cow, and eat them? And that way we don't have to worry so much about plowing the land. We can just find cows and bulls and eat them, or other animals. But then they found out that they still had to plow the land because the cows, they needed some grains, they needed some grass, they had to eat something. You couldn't raise cows and bulls without having some grass and grains. So they discovered, because they became so intelligent, that why this simple living? We can do something much more elaborate, much more worthy of glorification. We can build a tractor. We become inventive. We become creative. But to build the tractor, they needed a factory. But to build a factory, they had to get the raw materials. And to get the raw materials, they had to dig into the earth. And to dig into the earth, they had to make machines. So they could get, therefore they needed more factories, more machines. In order to get the raw materials to the factories, they needed transportation and trucks. And it went on and on and on. And finally they had to build boats and they needed factories for arms so they can get donations from other countries. My dear country, we need more raw materials. We need more factories. Would you kindly give us a donation? And if you don't, we have all these nice airplanes we manufactured, and we'll give you some donations also, which might not be very pleasant for you. So please, happily give us whatever you have. In this way, society has progressed very rapidly towards the most darkest regions of existence. And therefore the air is contaminated, the water is contaminated, the food's contaminated, their minds are contaminated. Little children nowadays, they can't do anything, they're useless. They're varṇā-sankara. All they can do is sit and look at a little dumb phone, or maybe smartphone for dumb people. And kill dragons in a dungeon. That's all they're good for. Virtual dragons, killing them in a dungeon on their smartphone. And people are proud. It's the same example that I've always give. That one Brahmin was bathing in the Ganges one day, and all he had was a pair of underwear because he was happy. He was chanting Hare Krishna, he was worshiping the deities, he was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day, he was making the atmosphere spiritual, and he was serving the devotees. He put his underwear on the bank of the Ganges to dry. Unfortunately, a mouse came and stole his underwear. So he was completely embarrassed. He had nightmares at night, of mice coming and stealing underwear. So after begging another piece of underwear, he did careful research and found out that mice are afraid of cats. And so he begged one cat to protect his underwear. But the cat kept on speaking to him some strange language, so he looked it up on Google. He had a friend who had a smartphone, and found out the cat needed some milk. So in order to get milk, he discovered that cows give milk. He was a very innocent Brahmin. And so he begged one cow. But to milk a cow was too technologically advanced for him. So he found out there was one lady in the village, she knew how to milk a cow, so he married her. So now he had a wife, he had a cow and a cat, all to protect his underwear. But his wife, she wanted to expand the family, so she wanted some children. So now in order to have the children and the wife, he needed a house. So for the house, to pay for it, he needed a job. But to go to the job, he had to get a car. To pay for the car, he had to work at night. So now he had 2 jobs, a car, a house, a wife, 2 children, a cow and a cat to protect his underwear. And after careful consideration, he realized that he would not be able to afford his underwear anymore. So he renounced his underwear and took sannyas and walked away. So that's modern society, so proud of all the complications they made, so proud that they're slaughtering the animals. They're slaughtering other countries. They're exploiting the women. They're exploiting the children. They're exploiting everything. And they think they're making advancement. They're advancing. They're going to get a business class ticket to hell, that's all. And in Kali Yuga, Maharaj is sufficiently busy. As a matter of fact, he took birth as Vidura right before Kali Yuga started, because he needed a vacation. Because he knew when Kali Yuga went on, he'd be busy 25 hours a day, taking care of all the new people coming to visit him. So there's enough people going to hell. And the only solution, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Yari Deka Tari Kaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Aga Gurhana Tari Desh. Whoever we meet means anyone we meet. We're meeting so many people during the day. Even we meet our wife. But what should we think? We should think, here is Krishna's eternal servant, and I'm also Krishna's eternal servant. So I have to satisfy my wife in a Vedic way, and also I have to help her become spiritually advanced. By what? We should sit down morning and evening, chant Hare Krishna together. Even if we don't like each other, still we should chant Hare Krishna together. And that will develop the relationship. We should hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, learn how to become nice householders. We should worship the deities, because then we'll realize that both of us are Krishna's eternal servants. We should make the atmosphere spiritual, and we should serve each other. This will make the atmosphere, this will make household life loving, affectionate, and productive in spiritual life. Rather than materially affectionate, spiritually affectionate. Actually develop real love for the soul within the body. When I saw Srila Prabhupada one time in Boston, as I mentioned, 1969, and after Prabhupada walked into Boston Temple, and the whole atmosphere was Vaikuntha, and when Srila Prabhupada sat down, I could see that he could see me as I am, and he had great compassion. He was saying, oh, here's a little spiritual soul, and he's in Maya. But he's so beautiful. Why is he wasting his time in Maya? Maybe I can help him develop his love for Krishna. So that was what I saw Prabhupada, his compassion and love at the same time. And therefore everything he did, everything he said, everything he thought was simply to help whoever he met become Krishna conscious. And what did Prabhupada do to help us become Krishna conscious? What was his main emphasis? When I joined the movement in 1968, we only had Srila Prabhupada's three Srimad Bhagavatams. That was the only books. But Prabhupada was not satisfied with that. He spent day and night to translate these books. Well, at night, he'd translate the books. So then we had Nectar of Devotion, we had Krishna book. So many books were coming. That was Prabhupada's gift to us. And then he taught us deity worship. He also taught us that we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we should chant Hare Krishna, we should have Mangala Arati, we should serve each other by participating with each other in these services, go out to Sankirtan together, chant Hare Krishna, distribute this literature to others. Prabhupada gave us simply a very perfect process. Simple process. We didn't have to add anything or subtract anything. When Dhruva Maharaj was leaving his body, going to Vaikuntha, and Death Personified came and offered obeisances to Dhruva Maharaj, and Dhruva Maharaj got on the back of Death Personified and entered into the Vaikuntha airplane. He did not know what to say to these beautiful Vaikuntha Vasis who were taking him back to Dhruva Loka. But then he remembered to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that was perfect. Perfect prayer. So simply, this is Srila Prabhupada. This is what he wanted to infuse. The morning program he gave us, the 5 powerful processes that Srila Rupa Goswami has given us. And at night, he wanted us to do the same thing. And during the day, to tell others about this wonderful process. As I always say this in every class I give in Mayapur, that one time a person was walking down on the street and he saw this beautiful woman and he thought, there she is, my soulmate. But she was walking next to a man, and his intelligence told him, wait a second, there's a man next to her. And she has a dot on her forehead. Maybe she's married. But then the mind says, wait a second, you're in Kali Yuga. What is all this nonsense philosophy? I know you read something in some ancient book called Bhagavatam something, but don't listen to that. No one listens to this old philosophy anymore. We have a very simple philosophy now, that if it feels good, then you do it. So then the soul hears a little bit of information from his mind, from his intelligence, and a lot of information from his mind and his senses. So then the mind says, go for her. And then the soul says, yes, let's go for her. So what should I do, intelligence? Keep quiet with this philosophy, you're disturbing me. You're trying to make me feel guilty, as you usually do. Remember, if it feels good, then you do it. So tell me how to do it. So then the intelligence says, yes, I'm surrendered to you, you're superior to me. So my suggestion is you write her a letter. Tell her she's the most beautiful, lovely lady you've seen. And then in small letters, to be honest, put in the last 2 weeks. Tell her you're madly in love with her. You can't live without her. That she should meet you in such and such time, in such and such place, and you'll give her the sun, you'll give her the moon, and if she's really nice to you, you'll throw in a couple extra stars too. So write her this letter, but don't sign it, because that man next to her is twice as big as you are. So that's called Maya. Krishna consciousness means you see this beautiful lady on the street, you see next to her this big handsome man, and your intelligence says, go up to her and give her a Krishna book and give him a Bhagavad Gita. Tell them you're the most beautiful couple that you've seen in the last 2 weeks. Tell them if you read this book and follow his instructions, Krishna will give you the sun, he'll give you the moon, and if you're really sincere, he'll throw in a couple extra stars too. And by the way, since I'm your devotee, please give me a donation. That way one's life becomes perfect, and one will help make other people's lives perfect also. Hare Krishna. So, thank you. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when I first came to ISKCON, newly came to ISKCON, one devotee told me that if you don't have control in your desire of sense gratification, you should get married.
Please speak a little slower. English is not my first language.
Actually, I am nervous. Actually, I am nervous a little bit.
Yes.
So when I newly came to ISKCON, one devotee told me that if you don't have control in the desire of sense gratification, you should get married. And later, some days before, one devotee told me that if you have control on your desire, only then you should get married. Otherwise, your devotion life will be ended. So I got confused.
So keep on thinking about those instructions, and you probably won't have time to get married. Yeah, yes. Yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, pranams. Maharaj, the question is, this is talking about husband and wife, and we are all in Mayapur. So, and particularly this is the spiritual capital of the world. And when we live here in Mayapur, Prabhupada says that our priority is deity worship and being spiritualized. That's what you also mentioned. So happens sometimes that from morning to night, you're totally to service, and both for the husband and wife. I'm talking in both ways. Sometimes it so happens that you're not able to take care of the household. So what's the solution for that?
You're doing service day and night, and you aren't able to take care of the household. Is that right?
Yes.
So the household, you don't do any service for your household. Is that right?
Taking care of the cleaning of the house. We have deities at home also, isn't it?
Poor deities. Unfortunately, in Mayapur, if you're a deity, no one takes care of you. No, well, you have to have a balanced life. Grihastha life means, in other words, I don't know why so much service, but service also means to the family. If we think that our husband or our wife are not, there's something strange, they're not really devotees of Krishna, somehow or another they've come to Mayapur and Krishna has left their heart. So there's no need to serve them anymore. No, Krishna is in their heart. They're in the hearts of our children. They're the hearts of everyone. So we serve everyone. Why not serve our husband and wife also? Why not serve our children? They're also service to them is also service to Krishna, if it's in Krishna consciousness. If we're here in the spiritual atmosphere, why shouldn't we see Yari Deka Tarika Krishna Upadesh? When we meet our husband or wife, why should we not help them become Krishna conscious? They become demons because they've come to Mayapur? No, they're also devotees, and we should also serve them. And then after we serve them, after they're sufficiently served, properly served, then we should work cooperatively with each other, the whole family, to also serve the other devotees. As it says, charity begins at home. As this whole chapter, we'll deal with, we also have to serve very nicely the devotees. And our families are also devotees. We should try to help them devotees. One of the problems in our society is we've done so much service except to our children, except to our family members, and therefore, probably because the example is given, we've conquered so many different places, we've distributed so many books, but we've lost all our devotees in the meantime. So what is the gain? One time Tejas Prabhu was in the temple president of Delhi temple, and he learned the same way I did to become a treasurer. You take money in, but you don't give anything out. So that means the devotees weren't being clothed properly, they weren't being fed properly. So they were disturbed. They went to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, our temple president, he's not feeding us properly, we're not being protected properly. And so Prabhupada went to Tejas and said, why aren't you taking care of the devotees? So Tejas said, well, Prabhupada, you told me to take in the money but not give anything out. I'm just following your instructions. So Prabhupada said, you think it's my instructions to disturb all the devotees? So we should make a happy family. And then we'll be happy if we have a happy family in Krishna consciousness. And then we'll have something to distribute to others. Otherwise, we say, join the Hare Krishna movement. It'll destroy your family, it'll destroy your health, it'll destroy your consciousness, but you can chant Hare Krishna and be happy. You can make everyone happy except for your family and yourself, and everyone you come in contact with will become miserable. But then our Sankirtan movement will become successful that way. Doesn't make any sense. Yes. Okay, Maharaj. Anyhow, give it to her. She's very anxious.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a brilliant class. Just as this young gentleman was asking his question, there's so much confusion about grihastha ashram, how to enter, how to conduct oneself. So what about the poor brahmachari? He doesn't have any training. He has no means of earning a livelihood. He has no idea how to deal with the opposite gender. And now he's in grihastha ashram. So what is the training we are giving these poor young brahmacharis who enter grihastha life?
What is our training? Chant Hare Krishna in the morning. Hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, which gives you full training in household life. Worship the deities, perfect couple, left stay together eternally. And they have a lot of friends who help their household life. Learn how to make the atmosphere spiritual and serve the devotees, including your wife and everyone else, appropriately. So perfect training, if we follow it.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a wonderful class. Maharaj, 1968, you shared with us that you had the darshan of Srila Prabhupada in Boston, and you had some realization from that incident. Could you share with us another incident where you had the darshan of Srila Prabhupada and you got some realization from that?
Well, one time is every time, let's see. One time I was sitting with Srila Prabhupada for a week. Srila Prabhupada came to Buffalo, and he stayed there for over a week. And I was a student at the University of Buffalo. So I had, my classes were in the afternoon, so when I could go to Prabhupada and sit with him for some hours. And sometimes it was just me and Srila Prabhupada sitting there. And Prabhupada was always talking to me, telling me things I usually didn't like to hear. Some things I like to hear. And then sometimes they're in the darshan. So one time Prabhupada was preaching to me, and I was getting a little bored, because I was kind of a yogi. And one of the things before I joined the movement, I was always trying to see people's auras, dissolve clouds in the sky also. So I was sitting there listening to Prabhupada, and I thought, let me see if I can try and see Prabhupada's aura. And as soon as I tried to do that, Prabhupada looked at me and said, our process is bhakti. It's not mystic yoga. So that was the last time I ever tried to see anyone's aura. Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Just a little comment, Maharaj, this for the Mataji's question also. One time, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj was saying that there was a lady in America from the statistic office making a survey about the standard of living. And standard of living, yes. So fortunately or unfortunately, we can say she saw one brahmachari, and the brahmachari was very, very happy, dancing and chanting. And she was thinking, let me meet this boy and ask some question from the brahmachari. She did not know that he was a brahmachari from the temple, just because he was happy. And she asked question with some paper, notes and pen, everything she was writing, and she asked the brahmachari, do you have a job? And brahmachari said, no, we don't have a job, we do seva. And she's writing nil, like no. Do you have a bank account? Oh, no, we don't keep money. Money goes to the temple. Again, nil. Do you have a car? And brahmachari said, yes, the car belongs to Prabhupada, to temple. Again, nil. Do you have a girlfriend? And the brother, no, not allowed. And the lady became nervous and he just threw the paper away and said, you don't have anything, so how come that you're so happy? I heard this from Bhakti Sharma. That's a true story that happened. Right.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanande Haribol.